Kaja Israel, kama Egypt, kaja Ethiopia, kaja Sudan, waja shong. Kaja Kushima, wani me kona me waja shong. So Timbuktu, Ghana, Mali, Sumanguru, waja shong. Waja gay, waja shong. Manchester, no Sumanguru, walk where they get, waja shong. Cause to do, Bamasa, Yasan, waja shong. Kaja Israel, kama Egypt, kaja Ethiopia, kaja Sudan, waja shong. Akwaka bachimo wanye ya fokelacha, akachimo wanye anunyam feng. Akwaka bachimo wanye ya fokelacha, akachimo wanye anunyam feng. Ameke minyam matu, ameke onyang otu, ameke wanyang watumo. Ameke minyam matu, ameke onyang otu, ameke wanyang watumo. Ameke wanyang watumo, wina chacha, kachimo wakwe wabanya. Kaya jenje zanya mwabawa. Kaya jenje zanya mwabawa. Kaya jenje zama ubawa. Kaya jenje zanya mwabawa.
Hi there, my name is Calibos, the only boss with one S. Happy new month to all of you. Welcome to a month of new possibilities. Do you know why life has been made so easy? It's because of TapTapSend. People, TapTapSend is here to make your life easy if you want to transfer money to Ghana, if you want to transfer from USA, if you want to transfer from UK, Europe, Canada, a lot of places all to Ghana. And guess what? When it comes to Ghana, there's no e-levy charge. So, what are you waiting for? Download TapTapSend on Google Play Store and App Store and be ready for exciting offers coming your way each time, every time on TapTapSend.
TapTapSend. Send more, spend less.
Araba, there are some people at the door. Go and tell them I have traveled to Russia.
Yes, Daddy.
Where's your father?
My father said I should tell you he has traveled to Russia.
Your father has killed me. I sent him money from America to complete my house for me.
Are all student association contributions?
Even the money from the fundraiser for Kweku's surgery.
Oh! He too? Don't be a victim. If you're contributing to a project, alumni dues, or any public campaign, Chango is your best choice. Chango keeps track of all donations and gives you the power to know exactly where the money goes. Chango is approved by Bank of Ghana. Call 0270-066-614 or visit changoapp.com for more information.
Uncle, my father is hiding under the bed.
Oh, Araba.
Chango for your groupings and crowdfunding.
At Diaspora Insurance, we understand the importance of dignified send-offs within Ghanaian culture and traditions. We also understand that you want to avoid the double trauma of your family grieving and not having the financial support to cover funeral expenses when you're not around. With our Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, you can now cover yourself or your family in Ghana or abroad. With no medicals required, we'll accept you if you are under 75 years. Visit our website today or call us to complete a simple form in under 5 minutes. With Diaspora Insurance, your peace of mind is guaranteed.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, audience, panelists. Tonight, we are here as a Ghanaian community UK, and Ireland on Ghanaian Community Awareness Forum to educate, inform, and make you aware of the things that are around us that we can all enjoy from, and so that our families too can be in a better place. We have tonight key speakers, specialists on the field who are vested on the area that we are about to discuss. And so I urge all my audience to kindly refrain from political talk. Let's deal with the conversation at hand and put the questions that matters to them so that it will benefit your business, my family, and everybody else. A former world leader described Africa as Africa is a scar on the conscience of the world. I'm not going to name the person, but that tells us that now that Africa is mobilizing itself, putting things together, trying to do certain things that will make it no longer a conscience or a scar on the world, it means that trade is part of it. And Africa Intercontinental Trade Area, or the free trade area, is key part of us no longer in the long term to come become dependent. So this topic is very important, and I urge all my audience to participate, listen to the information that will be provided, and obviously give your contributions. We are grateful to sponsors for sponsoring this. TapTapSend, your #1 money transfer company that you need to use to help us so that they can also help us to deliver these sessions. To our speakers who are here voluntarily helping us to bring you the education. We also want to thank Diaspora Insurance for their support, and of course, IT Consortium for sponsoring us and bringing to us this information. We thank the contribution put together by Ghana Union, Ghana Nurses Association, UK, the Western Regional Association of Nurses, UK, and of course, the Nightingale Ghanaian Nurses Association. As always, my name is Nana Kwesikwesin the First, Chumahine of Ahanta Traditional Area, and of course, the Chairman of Ghana Union, UK and Ireland. We have tonight specialist panelists who are here with us, who will need a few introductions before we go into the actual presentation. Our first panelist is an academic and a private legal practitioner in Accra, Ghana, and a lecturer at the University of Ghana School of Law, where he focuses on international economic law. He is also a partner at the Accra-based law firm called Foresita, where he leads the firm's dispute, international economic law, and maritime law teams. He regularly counsels multinational corporations, foreign governments, and multilateral organizations on their most pressing matters in Ghana. He has consulted for AfCFTA Secretariat since its commissioning in August 2020, and initially served as the head of legal for the operational support team for the operationalization of the AfCFTA legal instruments. He is currently an advisor to the AfCFTA Secretary General Office on the implementation of the host country agreement between the African Union and the government of Ghana. He is a Harvard Law student, alumni, with an academic qualification from the World Trade Institute in Switzerland, University of Southampton in UK, and of course, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Please, audience, join me as I welcome our first panelist, Mr. Augustine B. Kedesol, who is a panel for tonight and will be joining and making a presentation. I will go straight, if I may, to introduce our second panelist so that when we come to him, we wouldn't have to do that again. Papa Oko Bettels, currently serves as a head of trade and investment at the Ghana High Commission in the United Kingdom, a member of the board of the Ghana Cocoa Marketing Board in the UK. He is an experienced enterprise development strategist with over 34 years of work life spanning the fields of engineering, agriculture, post-harvest management, business development, SMEs, and the manufacturing industry. He was a program lead for industrial subcontracting and partnership exchange of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ghana, and did serve in various capacities in the same ministry. Papa is a skilled small business enabler, an ardent trade and investment strategist with a passion for product development and operations management of SMEs. He also has years of experience in donor-funded projects and programs and has served on several boards, advisory councils, and steering committees. His special passion, though, is to drive enterprise development through sustainable growth approaches for SMEs to nexus global value chains and systems. He's an extensively traveled man, a counselor, and ardent sports enthusiast. Please join me as I welcome our one and only, the Minister Counselor responsible for trade and investment at the Ghana High Commission, Papa Eko Bettels, to tonight's forum. Thank you, sir. Now, the running order will be as follows. Please, there will be no one able to mute or mute themselves. Please go straight to your questions when it comes to you so others can have the chance, and one question at a time. So the first we will have is Mr. Augustine Kedesel, who will be delivering a presentation on AfCFTA, what it all means to businesses. What does it mean to all of us, Ghanaians and friends of Ghana? Welcome, sir. And please take over.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you to the Ghana Union for the opportunity to share a few words with you this evening on something that I believe is driving the growth of Africa. All these years since the establishment of the African Union, we've always had in mind building one African continent in terms of unity. Now, since the founding of the Union, it has always been the vision of the leaders of the continent to integrate the continent, not just politically, but also economically. And it is very exciting times for those of us who are alive today to see this vision materialize in the form of the establishment of a new trading area that we call the African Continental Free Trade Area. So today I will be sharing a few words on this area with you. Trade is a very technical area, so I'm not going to go technical. I know we are business people. We're interested in the business aspect of it, and that is what I'm going to do. But before that, I think it's important that I give you a bit of an introduction to the whole free trade area, so that you understand what the free trade area is really about, and then what it has to offer African economies and African businesses. Now, for today, I thought I should start with a story about a transaction that I did recently. And this is a purchase of flowers for my mother in Botswana. She was celebrating her birthday, so I decided to buy her flowers. The flowers cost 700 pula, Botswana pula, that's their currency, and I think it's roughly $54. Now, the bank charges for that transaction, at least from my side, was $60, and this happened just this week. And if you look at the movement of the transaction, the transfer didn't go straight from Accra to Botswana. It had to go through a bank in New York and who knows where else before it lands in Botswana. So as we speak, the seller has not yet received the money for the flowers, but the flowers have long been delivered. So the question is, what happens if the florist doesn't get the money? Now, the good side to this story for me is that I was able to find a florist in Botswana sitting in Ghana here. I didn't have to travel all the way to Botswana to find somebody to buy flowers from. And I didn't have to travel all the way to go and buy flowers from my mother. I was able to do that right from my phone. So that's a good side. And the other thing is that the whole transaction occurred via WhatsApp. Once I found the florist, you got a number, everything was done via WhatsApp. She sent me pictures of the different types of flowers, whatever the bouquets, and then I picked my preference. Now, the interesting thing about this is that the flowers have been delivered, but no payment. The other side of the story is that it took too long to get the transaction completed. From the moment of issuing the instructions to when the bank finally confirmed that they sent the money. And as we speak, the seller has still not received the money. So unless the seller has many customers in Ghana, I would think that as a business person, it wouldn't be profitable for the person to continue to sell flowers to somebody like me sitting in Ghana here. So this story, we'll get back to it later, but it illustrates neatly the nature of trade amongst African countries as we speak. And it also illustrates the challenges that the African heads of states are hoping will be resolved through the African Continental Free Trade Agreement or the Free Trade Area. So let's look at the statistics in terms of trade amongst African countries. Generally, trade amongst African countries is believed to be the lowest if you look at all the other blocs around the world, EU, ASEAN, and all those other blocs. Usually they put it around 16%, but the recent research shows that it's probably around 38 to 42%. So even though the recent study shows a higher percentage than what we thought, it is still low. What does this mean? It means that African countries tend to trade more with other non-African countries than with their fellow African countries. And this is something that the African Continental Free Trade Area seeks to curb. Now, the second aspect of intra-African trade that is important for our discussions today is the existence of what we call regional economic communities, regional economic blocs within Africa. So you have, for us in Ghana, we have ECOWAS. ECOWAS is now a customs union. We have a common external tariff for all the members of ECOWAS. Other parts of Africa also have the same arrangements. So you have SADC for Southern Africa, you have EAC for Eastern Africa, you have COMESA, and some of them you have overlapping membership. So all these make it difficult for us to have fluid trade amongst African countries. And that boils down to a few factors. One is the trade policies. Countries always, of course, look to where they have better terms of trade. So Ghana probably prefer to trade with China because we get better terms of trade with China because imports from China are cheaper. And maybe China wants Ghanaian, let's say, timber, wood. It's more beneficial to Ghana to sell timber to China than, say, the US or, say, South Africa. And maybe it's more beneficial to South African retailers to set up businesses in West Africa than in Europe. So trade policies obviously influence decisions of African countries in terms of how and where to trade. But a big one is insufficient infrastructure. If you've been involved in shipping logistics on the continent, you would immediately recognize this as one of the biggest challenges to intra-African trade. Forget about the road networks. Forget about the bad road network. Just take something like telecoms. It's so expensive to make a phone call from one African country to another African country because the landing doesn't go, it goes through somewhere else, which is not in Africa. I don't want to get into that. If you take e-commerce these days, it's even worse. So insufficient infrastructure is a big issue. And we can add to that travel within Africa. It's more expensive to travel from one African country, from West Africa to Eastern Africa, than it is to travel from Ghana to London, right? And sometimes if you want a cheaper flight, you end up going to Dubai which is so inconvenient. So as a businessman, would you waste your money on travel, or you rather pick a destination that is easier to get to and cheaper for your business? Then the other point is the non-convertibility of currencies. We know the dollar is king. You can't do any trade across African borders from one African country to the other African country without converting, first of all, into a foreign currency. So my flour purchase, when I told the bank to do the transfer, they said, we can't do the transfer in Botswana Pula. We have to do it in dollars. So they moved the money from cedis to dollars, and then the dollars is sent to the ultimate beneficial bank, and then they convert it to the local currency. And of course, there are margins earned and margins lost, but the loser at the end of the day is somebody like me, the person who needs the services. And the final point for purposes of today is the issue of political instability. Investors are usually worried when they have to pump so much investment into the continent because they are not sure what's going to happen tomorrow. But we have to admit that that has since improved. I mean, it has improved dramatically. And if you take a country like Ghana, there's no doubt that we have political stability. And it's the same with most African countries. Okay, so now, with all these challenges, we are saying that it's difficult for African businesses to trade with each other. What is the solution? The heads of states decided that the solution to this is to move a step further beyond political unity to economic integration. And the first step is to create one market of some sort, and that is the African Continental Free Trade Area. But this is not something that started just yesterday. It's always been on the agenda of African heads of states. Particularly in 1991, there was what called the Abuja Treaty, which pushed for the creation of an African Economic Community. The agreement was adopted in 1994, but nothing substantive was done until they started negotiations on the African Continental Free Trade Area actively in 2016. But the idea of the negotiation was launched in Ghana in 2012, but active negotiations started in 2016. Now, by March 2018, our negotiators had reached an agreement, and in Rwanda, 54 African countries signed. So signing was in Rwanda in March 2018, and ultimately 54 African countries signed. Only Eritrea, yes, has not yet signed on. But there's a difference between signing and the ratification. But the good thing is that if you look at the time frame, the treaty was negotiated within a matter of 2 years. And this is, I think this is the fastest that any bloc has negotiated a trade agreement. That speaks volumes about the hunger that our leaders have for economic integration on the continent. The agreement entered into force in May 2019. And as most of you may know, Ghana is hosting the Secretariat. So Ghana, if you like, has now become the, we like to say, the economic capital of Africa. So we are hosting the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, and that is where I've been doing some work since 2020. Trading amongst African countries started in January 2021. And then again, the first trade was done by a Ghanaian company. So the product was moved from Ghana to South Africa. But since then, we haven't had serious trading. We'll get into the initiatives and what is being done about that later. But for now, just know that the objective of the African Continental Free Trade Area is to create one big market for the entirety of Africa. And that's a lot. That's a huge market. And the goal at the end of the day is to make sure that we have a common customs union. So you start by trading amongst yourselves, reducing tariffs, giving yourselves preferential treatments, building momentum for a single market. So to get to a point where we'll have one external tariff for products entering into African market, just like we have within ECOWAS. So the tariff that you pay in Ghana is the same as the tariff that you pay in Nigeria for products coming from outside the ECOWAS region. As I said, 54 countries signed, 44 have ratified. So it means that the agreement is in force for 44 of those 54 countries. Now, the agreement has not done away with the existing economic communities within Africa, so the regional economic communities themselves. In fact, it actually recognizes 8 specific regional economic communities, and that includes our own ECOWAS. So the African Continental Free Trade Area is built on the existing regional economic communities, like ECOWAS. So what does the area cover in terms of business? It covers trade in goods or products, trade in services. Now we have about 5 areas that are being negotiated in terms of services. So finance, tourism, so finance, business, tourism, and the rest. But this is just negotiation that are ongoing. These are the initial commitments. The plan is to open up the services market as much as possible. So it's not just about people who sell goods across the borders. It's also about people who deliver services, like lecturers, doctors, lawyers. All of us are going to be impacted in one way or the other. Then it also covers investment. Now, you realize that from investment all the way to women and youth, I put all those ones in brackets. These are still being negotiated. So the investment protocol is being negotiated. And what is it trying to do? It's trying to look at protections that will be given to investors within the African markets. So instead of African countries having many bilateral investment treaties with countries all over the world, we would have a common investment regime. And then we also have competition, intellectual property. Intellectual property is a big one. This is also being negotiated. And then e-commerce and women and youth. Now, these 2 areas, digital trade or e-commerce and women and youth, were just added. They were not part of the original AfCFTA negotiating plan. And e-commerce came to the fore because of COVID. So that's one good thing that came out of the COVID pandemic. Our leaders realized that no, we need to move with the times. And now is the time to get rules on digital trade. People are trading on Instagram, on WhatsApp, on Facebook, using platforms to trade. So why do you sign a trade agreement in this era without factoring in digital trade or e-commerce? So this is a new protocol that is going to be negotiated soon. And one of the innovations of the AfCFTA regime is the initiative to start a new protocol called Protocol on Women and Youth. And this protocol recognizes the fact that on the continent, most of our entrepreneurs, SMEs, are run by women. And Africa has the youngest population in terms of continents in the world. So we need to have special provisions for women and the youth to integrate them into African trade and eventually global trade. So that's what this protocol would do. So all the areas that are in brackets, especially the last 2, are still being negotiated, and there's opportunity for all of us to contribute in terms of policy recommendations to our governments so that we'll come up with agreements that work well for our businesses. Now, so how does the AfCFTA work? The AfCFTA, in terms of trading goods, is about recognizing products that we can call African products. So if I take a box of fruit juice made in Ghana, and I want to sell it to a retailer in South Africa, when the juice gets to the border in South Africa, South African customs authorities will have to assess whether that juice box is indeed a Ghanaian product. that qualifies for special treatment. Let's put it that way. So it's special treatment at the border. And special treatment basically here will mean that either you don't pay any tariffs, any customs duties at the border, or you pay minimal, pay a small amount as compared to somebody who's sending the juice box from the UK. So that is where we have what called rules of origin, trying to determine which products are African products. And I'm happy to say that the negotiators have reached substantial part of it, and there's even the rules of origin manual that is available on the website of the AfTA Secretariat. Now, to help in the work of the AfTA, we need to have free movement of people. We need to have free movement of people. So there was a launch of the single African air transport market in 2018, which is being worked on. And then also there's a protocol on the free movement of people. So hopefully the single African air transport would reduce the cost of air transport within Africa so that business men and women can move around freely and less expensively. And then also the protocol on free movement of people, obviously, is supposed to make sure that if we're going to be trading with each other as if we are in the same economy, in the same market, then our movements should not be restricted because of our individual nationalities. So this protocol is trying to remove that hurdle to make it easier for people to move around within the continent. And then a new one, which is crucial, especially for my flower buying business, is the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. This was introduced by AfriximBank, and this, we call it PAPS, is supposed to provide a platform for almost instant transfer of money from one African country to another African country without you, first of all, converting into a foreign currency. So my payments for the flowers would have gone straight from cedis to Pula without being, first of all, converted into dollars and then reconverted into Pula. So that's one of the key initiatives, especially for our modern economy. And then the last one is something that happened just this year, which is the Guided Trade Initiative. As I said, on January 1st, 2021, even though trading officially started, in reality, we haven't seen goods moving across borders using the rules of the AfTA. So what the Secretariat has done is to introduce an initiative which involves 7 countries. So it's a pilot project to say that we're going to allow these 7 countries to stress test or to put the rules to the test, to trade amongst themselves up to, I think, 30th September. So let's say up to the end of September this year. And the goods are going to move across the borders under the rules of the AfTA. And these countries are countries whose rules of origin and tariffs have been settled. So the tariffs have been settled. You know, if you are sending a box of fruit juice to Rwanda from Ghana, this is how much you pay. It may be 0, it may be 1%, but it would definitely be less than what you would have paid under the old regime. So these countries, once again, includes Ghana. So Ghana is one of the 7 countries that is doing the Guided Trade Initiative. So then let's talk about Ghana. Is Ghana ready? As I said, yes, we are hosting the AfTA Secretariat. There's been a lot of backlash. I've attended programs where private sector, especially civil society organizations, have complained about lack of consultation. They were not consulted in the negotiating process and all that, which is, if it's true, which is unfortunate. But the treaty is here. So all we can do is to make the best of it. And that means that we need to get the private sector actively involved. And we have to rely on civil society organizations like Ghana Union to spread the word to our business communities. So Ghana is part of the 7 countries. Ghana has an established office. In fact, it's in the building of the AfTA Secretariat itself. We call it the National AfTA Coordination Office. What this office does is to engage with Ghanaian businesses interested in exporting within the AfTA market. So they have consultations, they give you guidance on how to go about it. If you need advice on how to get into a particular market, they can provide guidance on that. And then recently, we launched the National AfCFTA Policy Framework and Action Plan. This was in August, so that this month. I think it's about 2 weeks ago. And this policy document is available online. It's freely available, you can download it. And then you'll see the action points that the government of Ghana, through the Ministry of Trade and Industry, has put in place with milestones, with clear milestones to say, by this time we should be at this stage, by this time we should be at this stage. So at least Ghana has a document that requires some sort of action on the part of the government. And I think that's the right step. Now we just have to operationalize this document, make sure that the action steps actually move from paper to the road. Then the National Office has been engaging in consultative discussions with industry leaders. I know that they were trying to get a number of companies that were willing to say that they would export to other African countries. This is not unusual, as we know countries like South Korea, even China, and other countries have developed their industrial sector, not by leaving it alone, but by actively participating in it, by identifying champions, industry champions, and saying that these are the enterprises that we need to push because they have the requisite skills and vision. And then we can push them to serve as the building blocks for our new industrialization efforts. And that's what the National Office is doing. But the interesting thing is that some of the companies that, well, from where I stayed, I thought should have been involved, for some reason, they are reluctant. I think maybe part of it is because of a lack of awareness of the impact that this agreement is going to have on their business. And we'll look at that shortly. So opportunities for African businesses. Short-term to medium-term adjustment costs. We will have winners and losers. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be rosy all the way. No. What we need to understand is that we are opening up our markets. We're opening our market to other competition from other African countries. And we know that some African countries are more astute in terms of business. They are more advanced because they have the technology, they have the resources, the finance than other African countries. And this was why Nigeria was initially reluctant to join the AfCFTA, but eventually they joined. So if you come to Ghana, you know most of the serious retail businesses are South African. So you have companies like ShopRite and Game and all of them. These are trading enterprises because they are in Ghana as foreign companies. You go into the manufacturing sector, and once in a while we hear complaints about government not supporting the manufacturing sector. Once we open up our market and say, oh, you can come and set up a steel factory in Ghana and produce iron rod. When the person comes in, they're going to be competing with our local producers. Or you say, okay, iron rods produced in South Africa or Algeria, once they are African products, you would treat them as if they were Ghanaian products. So they can come into Ghanaian market duty-free or at a lower rate, so lower tariffs, which means that it's going to be cheaper to bring those products into the Ghanaian market. Or you take things like poultry, chicken. You know, we're trying to revamp our poultry industry. Whilst we can sort of stop the importation of chicken, not stop, but reduce importation of chicken from US and China because it will become more expensive to import from those countries, we're going to have a problem with chicken from other African countries who are more competitive. So once we open up the markets, our businesses are going to be competing with their counterparts from across the continent. And so it's important that as businesses, you're aware of that and ready yourself for competition. But it's not just about losing. It's a decision that you have to make, whether you want to be a loser or a winner. So in terms of benefits, the AfCFTA will boost intra-African trade because you're going to have reduction of tariffs. So you're going to have a situation where it's cheaper to import a particular product from another African country than from any other place outside of Africa. And we know that our businesses are mostly SMEs. So there's a strong focus on SMEs. And we hope that after will be an opportunity to grow our SMEs. And all these things hinge on the fact that we're going to have one giant market. So as an SME, you don't have to worry about getting your product into the US market or the UK market. You have the whole of Africa available to you as if it were a local market, to put it loosely. So if you're able to capture the African market alone, you should be fine. And if you look at countries like the US and China, they leverage on the size of their market. There are certain research, it shows that less than 30% of American companies export or have done business outside America, but they are very profitable because the market is huge. And it's the same with China, same with India. Africa is going to have an even bigger market. So if you can strategize and leverage on the size of the market, you have a huge potential over there. And then finally, there is a plan to negotiate rules on special economic zones. And special economic zones are exceptions to the general business environment, in that countries, in order to promote industrialization, will give certain special treatment to companies that are willing to produce and export. So you produce and export. So you take companies like Blue Skies in Ghana, and then a lot of other companies, they get certain special treatment because about only 30% of their products or so are allowed to be sold within Ghana. So they are outward looking. They are supposed to export about 70% of their products. And that's important because as a country, if you export more, it improves your foreign earnings and your balance of trade and strengthens your currency. So African heads of states are not doing away with free zones or special economic zones. Rather, they're going to make sure that there is standardization across the continent so that you don't have the race to the bottom where one African country is offering better terms than other African countries. Now, as businesses, what do you need to do to get ready? As I said, we're going to have winners and losers, at least in the short to medium term. And businesses are going to be swallowed up by other businesses. And other businesses are going to emerge stronger, especially the ones that are ready. So the first thing that I think any business that has interest in leveraging on AfCFTA has to do is to look at the mindset. When businesses hear about exports or they hear about competition, then they start shaking. They want to rush to the government for protection, which is legitimate. Because once there is liberalization, the market is opened up, you're going to have competition from other businesses across the continent. In Ghana, we've had issues with our Nigerian brothers, right, who have tried to make use of the ECOWAS regime. We are saying our local laws don't allow them to do businesses in certain sectors of the economy. And then we have this issue coming up once in a while. But that is going to continue once you open up to the larger African market. So whilst the government has to put in place policies and mechanisms to protect Ghanaian businesses, the biggest assurance that you can have as a business is to change your mindset to know, look, this is happening. So I have to be ready. And one of the things I've noticed with SMEs is that we're not willing to scale up because we don't want to lose control. You start your business and you know that in Ghana, it's very difficult to get favorable financing. It's very expensive to borrow money as a business. Because starting out, you need, first of all, collateral, and you don't have any assets. So what are you going to use to get a loan? And if you get a loan, the interest rate is through the roof, and it's always been like that. It's not just now. So all these challenges, the way you surmount them is to have an open mind and to decide to say, okay, this is what's happening in my sector. If I need to survive, I need to be ready to grow. And if I need to grow, I need to open up to the possibility of partnering with other businesses or other persons across the continent. right? Or opening up and admitting other people into the business. So it's either that or you fold up and go home, because businesses don't forgive when it comes to competition. The government can only protect you so much. The government cannot protect you from every single competitor. Then the other aspect of the mindset shift is developing an export-oriented mindset. Why do you have to settle for a small market when you have a bigger market in front of you? So strategize and say, okay, I'm going to go for the bigger market. Or you can say, I don't want to export in terms of volumes, I want to specialize. Now, if you specialize, it doesn't mean that you're not export-oriented. Specialization just means that maybe you move up the value chain. So instead of selling wood, just the timber, you want to go into processing. Instead of just being a processor and just doing the normal, table and chair furniture, you want to upgrade your skills, you want to polish it, you want to go higher, you want to develop the next IKEA, an African IKEA or something like that, to move up the value chain. So that even if you remain a small business, in terms of size, you will still be a business that will survive because your products will be needed on the market, whether in Ghana or the rest of the world. So we need to look at making a niche for ourselves on the value chain in whichever sector or industry that you find yourself in. Otherwise, if you remain a generalist, selling what you've been selling, sooner or later, you're going to be out of business. Then you have to have an export strategy, as I said. So this one means that you need to look at the potential for export. Which markets should you target? Are you going to limit yourself to West Africa? Are you going to Eastern Africa, Southern Africa, whatever? But that depends on the sector that you operate in. Now, more and more, you find Ghanaian companies, especially in the fintech space, going to Southern Africa and then Eastern Africa, especially in Rwanda, setting up there. So you need to be strategic about the future for you as a business. Then financing is key. To attract financing, you need to have a robust business plan. You need to have a strategy. You can't just go to the bank and say, I want money, and the bank will give you money. And these days, you don't necessarily have to go to bank. You can raise privates. You can get money from privately, right, without doing institutional borrowing. So if you have a good strategy in place, you can get money from other places, not necessarily from the banks, because of the interest rates. And then finally, join government programs. Find out from your country what programs are in place. Almost every country has an export guarantee agency of some sort. Speak to them, find out what they have in place for businesses, right, that are looking to grow, to become major exporters in their sector or industry. And then you find out that you'll be able to, even in some cases, get funding from those agencies. All right, so concluding remarks, just 3 points for us to take home with us. The first one is that a new mindset is required. And I keep emphasizing this because almost everywhere that I speak on trade in Africa, I always get, majority of the people will say, it's not going to work. And then they always refer me to ECOWAS. And then they'll talk about all the challenges, the problems that we're having, the problems that our mothers are facing at the borders, the customs officers who are corrupt and all that. All those are real challenges. Those are problems that need to be resolved, but we can't give up because of that. The free trade area is here to stay. A lot of countries are preparing. The North Africans are very prepared. Southern Africa is preparing. Almost every country is putting in place a strategy to benefit from this arrangement. As a country, we have to be ready. And the government cannot do it alone. You need to have the private sector, who are the main participants in the market, being ready themselves to benefit from it. So we need to start looking at this as something that could generate positive results instead of the old narrative of saying, well, it's not going to work. So we're going to fold our hands. If everybody folds their hand and say it's not going to work, it's actually not going to work. But this is something that will benefit the entirety of Africa. As I said, it doesn't mean that everybody is going to win. The winners are going to be those who are prepared and better equipped. Then finally, it's better to be prepared than to be caught off guard. And this is crucial. And this is where I want to end by saying that as businesses, you should be interested in research. Research is key. It's not just enough to keep selling your products. You need to understand the market you operate in. You need to understand the rules. And like it or not, you may have to use lawyers. I know we don't like talking about lawyers, because lawyers are like the expense part of the business, but lawyers can be the revenue part. Lawyers can add value if you bring them in at the right time. And I'm telling you this because I've had experience where businesses have benefited from legal advice, not necessarily when they had a problem. So for example, we had a client asking about free zones, right? And now they have a whole strategy in place to make use of their free zone membership and how to position themselves to get into other African markets. We've had AGWA in place, the African Growth and Opportunity Act. We've had it in place for so many years now. I attended a workshop where the whole workshop was about building capacity of African enterprises to make use of the AGWA. And one of the revelations for me was that people were trying to export their products into the US market and getting bounced. So they got frustrated. Why? Because they thought that, well, they said the thing is free, so it's duty free, right? So I can take my product into the US market for free. No, that is just, the surface. It's duty free, all right, but you have to comply with standards. It's not everything that enters every market. Every market has standards. So if you want to get into the US market, you want to get into the South African market, you want to get into the Egyptian market or wherever, you need to know the rules, you need to know the standard. What's the requirement when it comes to packaging? What's the requirement when it comes to the use of pesticides? What are the requirements, right? For labeling, you need to know these things. And as a business person, I don't think you have to necessarily do all this research yourself. The point is make use of the experts in the market. And at the end of the day, you'll be glad you did. So thank you very much. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Augustine. Thank you. This is informative. We have some questions waiting, but as time is eating up, we will rather wish that you will give us some time so that our second panelist will do his presentation. I do ask all audience to put your questions for Mr. Augustine on your paper or somewhere so you don't forget. In the meantime, raise your hands so that at least when we come to Q&A, you'll be one of the first to be called. Thank you very much. At this point, we'll call on Mr. Eko Battels. But before we do, we'll do a few break so that everyone can get a glass of water and come back. We have a few things that Mr. Battels need to add to what our first panelist has said, and therefore we will come back to you in a few seconds. Thank you.
Araba, there are some people at the door. Go and tell them I have traveled to Russia.
Yes, Daddy.
Where's your father?
My father said I should tell you he has traveled to Russia.
Your father has killed me. I sent him money from America to complete my house for me.
Our own student association contributions.
Even the money from the fundraiser for Kweku surgery.
Oh! He too! Don't Don't be a victim. If you're contributing to a project, alumni dues, or any public campaign, Chango is your best choice. Chango keeps track of all donations and gives you the power to know exactly where the money goes. Chango is approved by Bank of Ghana. Call 0270-066-614 or visit changoapp.com for more information.
Uncle, my father is hiding under the bed.
Oh, Araba.
Chango for your groupings and crowdfunding.
At Diaspora Insurance, we understand the importance of dignified send-offs within Ghanaian culture and traditions. We also understand that you want to avoid the double trauma of your family grieving and not having the financial support to cover funeral expenses when you're not around. With our Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, you can now cover yourself or your family in Ghana or abroad. With no medicals required, we'll accept you if you are under 75 years. Visit our website today or call us to complete a simple form in under 5 minutes. With Diaspora Insurance, your peace of mind is guaranteed.
Hi there, my name is Calibos, the only boss with one S. Happy new month to all of you. Welcome to a month of new possibilities. Do you know why life has been made so easy? It's because of TapTapSend. People, TapTapSend is here to make your life easy if you want to transfer money to Ghana. If you want to transfer from USA, if you want to transfer from UK, Europe, Canada, a lot of places all to Ghana. And guess what? When it comes to Ghana, there's no e-levy charge. So, what are you waiting for? Download TapTapSend on Google Play Store and App Store and be ready for exciting offers coming your way each time, every time on TapTapSend.
TapTapSend. Send more, spend less.
Welcome back. Welcome back. This program, of course, put together by Ghana Union, UK and Ireland, the Ghana Nurses Association, UK and Ireland, the Western Region Association of Nurses, UK, and the Ghanaian Nightingale Association, Nurses Association, UK. It is supported and endorsed by the Ghana High Commission, and of course, streamed live on Facebook, YouTube, and Omega Live TV. And of course, we are on Zoom. We thank the sponsors, TapTapSend, for sponsoring and helping us to deliver you every 2 weeks this forum at the comfort of your home, making sure that you can still learn something while you are far away from each other. And we thank Diaspora Insurance for their support and, of course, the IT consortium, all your IT needs in their hands. At this point, we are going to call on our next speaker. He's assured me for the next 10 to 15, 20-minute max to give us his brief so that we can go to you for Q&A. Mr. Akor Battles, Minister Councillor for the Ghana High Commission in charge of investment and trade, will give us his overview of AfCFTA implementation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nana. It's interesting. Augustine has virtually shared a lot of what I was going to say. So I'm coming with a plan B. So it has to be more of a diaspora looking into Ghana to leverage the AfCFTA and get really into Africa. That's what I would do. So this is a second set of slides that I'm presenting. Practically what he said was what I was going to also say. So I would move on. Let me go. He said a lot about it. I was going to come with some imperatives, the African Continental Free Trade Area, how it emerged and the opportunities and all that. I think he said all that, so I wouldn't go into that. Again, if we hold the AfCFTA in high esteem and we roll it according to plan, what would be the benefit to Africa? And for me, as somebody who believes in SMEs and lifting small-scale businesses, we anticipate that at least some 30 million Africans would come out of poverty, and the incomes of approximately 68 million people will be shored up, given that they would be able to go above the $5.5 a day. So Africa can look to some 450 billion if all goes well by 2035, and then an additional 76 billion in income for the rest of the world coming from Africa. So Africa then stands in shoring up its exports to about 560 billion. Mostly this would come from the manufacturing sector. He spoke at length about the role of women, and AfCFTA has a key emphasis on women and indeed children as well. And the whole business of AfCFTA would also seek to boost the wages of both the skilled and unskilled workers, and we're looking at some 10.3% for unskilled and 9.8% for skilled workers. There are some imperatives. I think he spoke on some. So the agreement can lead to us shoring our GDP to over 3 trillion. And if you look at the collective consumer spending, even in 2020, it hit about 1.4 trillion. And then Africans in the working age, we are hoping that by 2040 should be able to hit 1.1 billion. And then households with discretionary income, we're looking at about 128 million. And then Africans living in cities would nearly be 50%. And that speaks a lot for business and businesses in Africa. I think that in that space, when we're considering AfCFTA, we need to look at our continent and see the kind of resources that we have. We have over 60% arable land, and that has implication for agro-businesses and things like that. 90% of the world's raw material reserve, 40% of gold, 33% of diamond reserve, 95% of platinum reserve, and a host of other minerals that we have, including crude oil. So if you are a business and you're looking at AfCFTA, especially if you want to go into Ghana and look at trading with the rest of Africa, these are things that you need to consider. And then I must also say that if you want to really invest under AfCFTA, there are some key things that you need to consider. I think Augustine has spoken largely on it, but I'll just quickly go through this. So our location as a continent is very central, and that makes it, very, very short in terms of land, water, and then air routes. And secondly, we have the human and natural capital that has not yet been exploited. And these resources can improve the entire world economy, not just Africa. And another important thing which he harped on, Augustine harped on, was what I call an effective business recce. You need to get to know what business and business people have to know in terms of the African market. So you need real knowledge and data instead of just relying on information from what comes out from the market or what people in the country are saying. And then I think that it is very necessary for people to really take a tour of Africa if you really want to trade within Africa, if you want to invest within Africa. You need to do that. And then engage with key institutions. He mentioned it. These institutions are especially the knowledge-based ones who keep on churning. In fact, I don't know how many units we have in Ghana, probably 40, 45. They're churning out a lot of people who have key knowledge, in supporting the kind of businesses that we want to engage in. Yeah, so there are some key considerations. Because of time, I wouldn't go so much into these things. We need to push for an effective continental policy description on some of the issues. Even though AfCFTA can be the panacea to our trade issues, we need to push for some key policy prescriptions, and that he mentioned some, on investment and those on women and children. We need to ensure that these policies are rolled out well. And we need to vertically also integrate business. As a people, we like operating in silos. It's about time that we brought on people, brought on experts, brought on people who are in business, and so we can collaborate. So you can be in Morocco and I can be in Ghana, and then we work together to deliver effectively. And then we also need to, like I said, vertical and then horizontal integration, so that we can make use of the acquisitions and mergers and takeovers through quality convergence. And then AfCFTA, I must say, also offers us the opportunity for the continent to become a more dynamic trade and investment environment, provided that we can ensure that there is clarity on cross-border trade and boosting investment across the continent. And I would say that business people, especially entrepreneurs, should be innovative enough and latch on the groundswell of opportunities that we have and identify new areas, diversify, and industrialize, whilst tagging along the value chain and value and supply chain development. I haven't said that. I want to bring a Ghanaian angle to this whole thing. How does the business environment in Ghana, for instance, look like? If you're a diasporan and you're looking into Ghana, what should you be looking at? So I'll share a few slides. This is a sectoral representation of non-household businesses in Ghana, how it looks like. And this is coming out of an IBES study that the Ghana Statistical Service provided. If you look at what we have here, you find that services alone constitute about 83%. Industry is close to 17%, and agricultural businesses, and that may be shocking for you, it's practically zero, because it constitutes about 0.443, thereabout, %. That is how our business ecosystem looks like. And if you look at industry, which is here, you find that manufacturing alone constitutes like 92%, and then you have the rest showing up there. But this kind of manufacturing is what I call the nika manufacturing. It's not the kind of large scale, manufacturing that we can easily channel goods and services for export. In fact, if we consider those numbers, the numbers are very, very few and far between as against those who are doing very small scale manufacturing, where you have 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, 6, setting up a business in the manufacturing sector. I am particularly interested in the service industry, because if you look at it, and we have the numbers there, but I'm particular about the wholesale and retail businesses. It constitutes about 55%. And let me say that this figure is wholesaling and retailing. So we are doing, even though the service economy in Ghana has jumped up and is making significant inroads, we are mostly doing what I call tornaton. People buy from various areas and then they come in to just sell. The service industry in India, for instance, is skewed just like ours, but in their case, they are operating service centers, resource centers, where people outside their jurisdiction are sourcing from, and then bringing in the forex. But in our case, we are rather taking out the forex and then coming in to sell. And another shocking one is with agriculture. If you look at the landscape, livestock and poultry, is on the high. Then we have forestry, we have fishing, and shockingly, for the crop sector, we have just about 32%. And I dare say that the reason why we have the livestock and poultry figure way up there is also because we are importing these things, bringing them in, and then selling. So virtually, like I said earlier on, we are just becoming more of a tornaton economy and not happen so much on production that would give us, the needed leverage if we want to be leaders in this after business. So I just put some key things why we should invest in Ghana. Well, we have generally on the continent very limited infrastructure, but in West Africa, Ghana comparatively has a much more developed infrastructure than some of our neighbors. And if you want to do an investment, if you want to grow out of Ghana, you need some peace, you need stability. And we have that as a country. Political stability is good, and we have it. And then we have skilled labor that is also trainable. And so if you set up in Ghana under AfCFTA, you have the opportunity. That's why I said it earlier on that I don't know how many universities we have now. The numbers are huge, and they keep on churning out, people that businesses and enterprises can tap on their skills, and they are also trainable. We have a sizable consumer base in Ghana with an emerging middle class, and their taste is changing. Unfortunately, some of the kind of taste that our people are having is driving our inflation so high. Things like Brazilian hair and people going into buy, sell grapes. These are things that we need to be careful, because even though we're emerging as a middle class, we are going into a lot of those things. And Ghana can serve as a hub of opportunities for West African countries and an easy access to the ECOWAS countries. If you are looking to come in as a diasporan and then try and leverage on the benefits that AfCFTA can give us, we accept 100% foreign ownership as well. I have put this thing up because of what he said. These are some considerations that we need to look at when we want to set up in Ghana and get into Africa. You need to go through a registration process and register with the Register General's Department. There are minimum equity requirements that you need to have, and then you need a registration with the Ghana Investment and Promotion Center. It's critical that we do that, and then registration with the Ghana Revenue authority as far as your tax obligations are concerned. And then you need to go through some bit of environmental impact assessment. So this is a quick one that I have for what I just presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Battels. Thank you very much.
Yes.
A very interesting aspect of the topic. We are going to let you know the next program, which is 2 weeks from today. A lot of us, and I'm sure before we come to Q&A, a lot of us has heard that Ghana is going to the IMF, which is in the International Monetary Fund. Now, we have an interest as diasporans to know what implication it will have on our family members. So our next topic, 2 weeks from today, on the 9th of September, will be Ghana and the IMF, implications for Ghanaians and the economy. It sounds political, but it will not be a political issue because from my memory, Kufuor took us to HIPP or HIPIC or something like that. Mahama took us to IMF and Akufo-Addo to IMF. So nobody is a saint here. We just want to know the facts from fiction. What will it be if we are in IMF? How will it affect my mother, my grandmother? How will it affect me sending money to keep them going? We're not here to talk about MPP, NDC. So tell a friend to tell a friend. In 2 weeks' time, we have Seth Tapper, who is the former Minister for Finance and Economic Planning, and Mahama, I believe, who will be here to talk about his view. He's an NDC man, of course. And we have Dr. Mark Asibi Yabua, who is also a former Member of Parliament for New Jabin, an MPP man. I will be moderating, and there will be no politics. So come and listen to the facts and share it when you get the message to your friends. Thank you very much. Now, my panelists, thank you for your presentations. If I can have our honorable panelists, Mr. Augustine, and of course, Papa Akor is here, so that they can help us answer some of the questions on the screen and some of them that have been sent to me in advance. Right. So, do we have Augustine with us? I think he is with us. Yes, thank you. Can we spotlight him so that at least people will know? Please raise your hand, put your questions up so that we can actually go through this as quick as we possibly can. I have one question, one for each of you before I call on Ohinijan, whose hands has been up. My first question is regarding Mr. Augustine's flowers. For a flower of $54, it costs $60 to send as in charges. What, in your view, would be the beneficiary if we were in a trade, if our trade, what's it called? Trade zone thing was working? I'm sorry, but who would have been the beneficiary of this $60 thing that we are paying to America to go round just to deliver to Botswana, I believe? And the number two for Mr. Augustine again, or anybody, I mean the two of you, what has prevented the remaining 10 states from ratifying the AfCFTA deal? Is there any reason why they cannot join us, as we have 44 signed up yet and the rest still wandering around, not sure whether they join or not? And for Mr. Battels, if I may, how can anyone be encouraged to these areas of businesses that has low intake, agriculture, less than whatever percent you described? My view, it's only my view, it's not political view. I go to Ghana and you see agriculture farmers bringing product on the road, selling banana, plantain, and all of us in our 4x4, we stop and we want to buy it as cheap and the most cheapest as we possibly could, even though we are earning the highest income on the grade. How do we encourage anyone to go into agriculture? Because it seems that society has no respect for agriculture. What is your view on that? And it's your view, it's not the view of a government or anyone you are representing. We need to be frank with each other because we see this every day. So these are my 3 questions. If you want to answer them before I call on the one hand up and others that I will bring to you later. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So let me start. So the first question, so 2 points in response to the question. The first is that what the AfCFTA seeks to do is to create one single market so that my buying of the flowers from across borders would have been treated like buying flowers from Unique Flora at a trade fair in Ghana. How was that going to happen? Obviously not through, moving the flowers across borders, because that would definitely be more expensive, but through the payment system. And that's where PAPS comes in. PAPS seeks to create a single payment platform. And you realize that one of the central banks that has signed on is the Central Bank of Ghana. So it works with the central banks so that payments will be processed as if they were local payments. So you take out this need to convert your local currency into a dollar, and then it's later converted into the local currency of the final recipient. So these are the considerations. So if this transaction was done, hopefully maybe a year from now or 2 years from now, where we have everything working, I wouldn't have incurred that much in terms of charges, because clearly it doesn't make sense to pay more charges than it cost me to buy the flowers itself. Okay, and then the second question about the ratification. Yes, trade, if you look at the history of trade, is political. Yes. Even though the main actors are individuals like you and I who want to make a living, the decisions are political in a sense. So every country has to assess itself to determine whether it is ready to take part in this one big market. As I said, there'll be winners and losers. So if you know that you're not ready to participate, maybe you want to put your house in order first before you join. If you look at China left the WTO. It was the initial part that left for so many years ago, even though Hong Kong was still part. And China only came back in the early 2012 or so, right? After it had built its capacity. And now China is one of the biggest users of the WTO system. So it's not an indictment on the African Continental Free Trade Area that some countries have not ratified. In fact, we have to applaud the leaders who have ratified, because I have 44 out of 54. And I think for me, that shows the political willingness and the recognition of our leaders that this is necessary if we're going to move together as a competitive continent. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Battles, any view on
a great question. Yeah, that there is some kind of a historic, antecedents to that. When you and I were in school, way back, anytime, you went off mark.
You see the agric teacher, you are running away.
Then the agric master, he holds the key to your punishment. You're sent to the school farm or somewhere to work. You see, so that mindset generally has been that when you engage in agriculture, it is some kind of a punishment. Now, fast forward it now also into the modern era. I think that we have not done enough to really go around the situation. Very few people, like what I showed you, a lot of people are going into services, they want to go into fintech, but you see, some of those technological skills and, if you like, platforms that we're using, we can also channel that into our agriculture. I believe that it starts right from our knowledge-based institutions. They should drive that and get people to understand that agriculture is a business. So you can set up and do things, put the right things in place. I'll just mention this shortly and then I'll leave it. I went to Japan some time ago, and on a very huge farm, there were only 3 people. So when the guy was talking, I was like, how can you control this whole, field? Then he laughed. And then he showed us, he did a slide presentation and showed us what they were doing. They had laid pipes all over the place. They had ropes in the roots of the trees that they were growing. They had put systems in place. So when a particular plant, and each plant was identified on the field. So if that particular, I'll call it tree because it was a tree crop environment, each tree that needed, if their calculation of how much moisture it should uptake falls below the set target, then from his comfort of his room or wherever he is, he just targets that tree and shows up the moisture requirement. And they could do that all over the field. And when it comes to harvesting, they'll just deploy a tractor, manless, tractor to go it was so impressive. All of us started looking at each other and were wondering when we can do that. But this is also doable in Ghana. It may not be at that very high level, but at least we can start off with something. I know people have started introducing a lot of technology into Ghana now, but we need to scale it up. We need to send it way up. And I don't want to talk about government programs and things that are already in place. But it is also playing a key role.
Thank you. I think, will it be fair to say that we need a change of mindsets, individual, collective, government?
Yes, a shift in mindset. Yeah.
Because in my time, when you go get admission to secondary school and you get agriculture, they tell you, Wabon, you are not. The people want you to read science, biology, physics, chemistry. That's when you can talk big. The moment you say agriculture, oh, that's for you there, Charlie. Yeah. So I think we need to stop undermining that area, because sadly, that is where the money is.
Let's tell the teachers also to stop punishing students with agriculture.
Exactly. And that is where the money is. And sadly, we don't have people on the field to make it better. So I think it's a food for thought for all of us. I'll call on Ohinijan, please. Ohinijan, your hand is up, and then followed by Priscilla, please. Ohinijan, you're with us. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening. My question is to Augustine. And thank you for your presentation, which was very interesting. You highlighted the benefits of a free trade area, not least the size of the market. But I think the real challenges are in the obstacles that you mentioned at the start of your presentation. Because, these are structural deficits that we have, and you realize that, and this is my view, most African countries will try and trade with European countries or other first world countries because, really on the ground, from a practical point of view, you wouldn't find that sort of competitive or comparative advantage among African countries to trade. You would rather buy a pair of shoes from Italy rather than go to another African country. And that is a fact, that is happening on the ground. So how do you see these challenges? Because until we try and address these things, yes, there will be the odd, buying or selling of, or buying a flower for your mother in Botswana, but really and truly, we can't scale up and realize that the cost of even doing business in Africa will eat up everything, and we can't be able to move to the level that we want to move to. How do you address that?
Thank you. Our next person to ask a question will be from Priscilla. I'm sure Augustine has taken note of your questions, Mr. Ohinijan. Ohinijan.
Thank you very much. I think I have actually enjoyed both presentations. My question is, it's great that we are opening up the the Ghana market for free trade. How prepared are we, or what kind of interventions that is the government putting in place for those the Ghanaian traders who like to trade in South Africa, Botswana, or any of those countries? I'll give you an example. For the UK economy, you find Ghanaians going into Chinese restaurants, going to Lebanese, going to Indian restaurants to eat. However, if you go to Ghanaian restaurants, hardly you can sit down the whole day and you will not see one Chinese person entering that restaurant. So convert that into Ghana element of it. We are very open arms. We welcome everyone. We will buy produce from any South Africa country, kind of like trade, any shop that is operating in Ghana, you find Ghanaians going there to buy, and they'll probably neglect their own produce. However, it would be so difficult for a Ghanaian trader to be able to export goods into those countries and be able to be successful. So you might find 10 South Africa countries, shops in Ghana operating and doing well, but then one Ghanaian person will establish in those countries, and then within 3, 4, 6 months, they've gone into bust. So what is the government putting in place? Those interventions to support them. One, the finance element of it. Those countries, they've got loans, government loans that support them to be able to deal with any aftershock that will come. But Ghana traders, they don't have that. They use their own capital. And the loans in Ghana, as you've already said, is very difficult to come by. And the interest rate alone prevent most people to go into that. So what is being put in place to do that so that we don't lose our own stuff?
Thank you. If I may ask the panelists to answer those two, and then we'll call the next set, please. Any of you can take it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me take Nana Onijan's question first. So, yes, that is the reality on the ground. We are currently operating in a market system where it's cheaper to get products from non-African countries than to get from other African countries. And part of it is this discussion on infrastructure. Because when you're looking at the cost of buying something, it's not just about the unit price. You factor in the transportation and everything. You know, there's a time that I bought some books on Amazon, and they charged me so much, I didn't understand. And then they said they were not sure about how Ghana customs would treat that kind of purchase, because they had instances where they had to pay tariffs on it, and they bore the cost of that, and they didn't want to take that chance. So what AfCFTA is trying to do is to remove some of these barriers. So there are two types of barriers. We have the tariff barriers and the non-tariff barriers. The tariff barriers, these are the things that all of us know about. These are the obvious ones, where you pay at the border to bring in a car made in Rwanda, for example. If the car is made in Rwanda, it's coming to Ghana, let's say it's duty-free, it comes in free. If you're buying a similar car, but made in China, and it's coming to Ghana, because China is not part of the African market system, you're going to pay on it. So very soon, you're going to realize that consumer taste is going to change. If you want to keep buying Italian shoes, you realize that whatever savings you are making in terms of transportation is going to be nullified, because you're going to be paying more at the border to bring in those shoes than buying shoes of a similar quality from Nigeria, from South Africa, or from any other African country. So these challenges basically are things that AfCFTA is seeking to resolve. But I think the most important thing that would help African businesses and us consumers is to move up the value chain. You know, go and use technology to move up. Let's get African products that can compete in terms of quality with a product from any other part of the world. That's it. Because Uncle Bartels, obviously, you can see he likes quality. You know, so you don't expect him to keep buying Ghanaian products just because he loves Ghana so much. When he buys the thing in 2 days' time, he has to go and buy another pair. No, so quality is key. If you have the right quality that can compete with any product on the international market, consumer taste is going to change. So with time, we're hoping that African products will be patronized more. That then segues into Auntie Priscilla's question. You know, I like this question because it reveals something that is intangible, but key to success in business and especially international trade. The love we have for our own businesses, our own products. When those of you in Europe, you know, you go to the shops, you're going to buy apples. There are two apples. There's one that is natural, let's put it that way, and there's one that has a GMO. The one that is natural costs more. And then there's one, the GMO one, costs less. They are apples. But people will spend more money to buy the natural one, you know, because that one is healthier. That's one way. Now, you have certain practices, like we talk about fair trade. You go to the market, you see that certain fruits are sourced from certain places that they believe, is sustainable. So you see the fair trade sticker on it, and because of that, the price of that particular product goes up. So these are decisions that we make as human beings, which are not necessarily economic, but are in some respects emotional and based on values. So we need to love our own businesses. If you don't love your business, nobody else is going to love it. Nobody else is going to patronize. So all things being equal in terms of quality and all that, we need to find a way of promoting our business. And I think that's why our embassies and high commissions are there. All our embassies and high commissions have commercial attaché and people who are there to promote Ghanaian businesses. And I'm happy that Uncle Bartel is part of this conversation today. You know, so this is something that we can do as African countries. Let me just add, there's a final point on this in terms of financing. Financing is a big issue. It is a big issue. For now, AfCFTA is going to make some money available to African countries to help with the cost of adjustment. But this is not free money and it's not automatic. So countries have to meet certain conditions to be able to access it, so that that money is meant to sort of cushion you a bit so you can absorb the shock, you know, of losing part of your market to other foreign businesses. I have a friend who's a geomatic engineer, right, by day, but his main source of income is from exporting dry plantain. During COVID, he didn't have money. He couldn't get money from a bank in Ghana. Through some connections, he ended up getting money from a financial institution in the Netherlands. Now, when the time came for him to repay, the bank in the Netherlands wrote him to say, we know that the COVID thing really hit all business, so we're willing to extend the repayment by 2 years. Right? So he hasn't started repaying the loan. The interest is frozen for that period. He couldn't even get that amount of money in Ghana without some heavy collateral, okay? I have another friend, he took a loan to get a house in Ghana, $1 loan. COVID, his salary was slashed. He can't pay. The bank, they've sued him in court. They want him to pay. He says, take the house. But the bank is saying, well, the money we have, the money, you know, that you owe us is more than the value of the house now. So now he's trying to figure. So there is a serious problem with financing. And we're hopeful that even as the market opens up, we will have other financial institutions being able to do business in Ghana. You have to remember that with the trade, it's not just goods, it's also services. And as I said, one of the sectors that is going to open up is the financial services sector. So hopefully you have other financial institutions on the continent being able to do business in Ghana. And then you realize that, well, it will become cheaper for me to get a facility from a South African bank than to get from a Ghanaian bank. And maybe that will help, that would sort of motivate our central bank and our commercial banks to give us more competitive facilities. Thank you.
Okay.
Maybe I can just add a little bit to the last one, the lady who asked the question about the restaurant and things like that. And Augustine, I wear a lot of made in Ghana stuff. My shirt, I have actually been to a fashion program, and I was talking, and like we say, yobbing Ghana. and then somebody there pointed to me and said, oh, but what you're wearing is like my shoe is Italian. Then I told him the shoe I was wearing, I don't know whether I'll be advertising, but it was made by a Ghanaian. And it was so well done that he thought it was an Italian shoe. And I was wearing an African print, jacket. Everything probably about me was Ghanaian, except what was not visible. That was the only thing that was not Ghanaian. But everything was Ghanaian. So you harped on something, and I think that it is important. The issue has to be, or has to, we need to look at quality. Our quality system is so, well, I want to use the word mediocre, but it's so uninspiring that sometimes it draws us so much down. And I think that we need to relook at that. Sometimes you go to your dressmaker, he makes the dress, you look at it, that's not what I said. Oh, now I didn't say FA. I mean, it's not a matter of it looks good on you. It should meet the standard. Well, I wanted to just say a little bit about the ladies thing, about the Ghana restaurant and all that. I think that if there is a facility, and the facility is an SME in Ghana, for instance, the National Enterprise and Innovation Program, and well, it used to be the NBSSI, they have some kind of a small loan scheme that they give out to people to support the growth of SMEs. But I must quickly add that I think that, just like Augustine said, we tend to look so much into Ghana and not look at the rest of the world. There are lots of loan, I call it floating loan opportunities outside Ghana, that if you put your program right, you would attract the needed financing for supporting the growth of your enterprise. So I think that people should cast their net wide and not look only at government and look only into Ghana, but you need to also look outside Ghana.
Thank you very much, both gentlemen. Thank you. I will call on the next two sets of questions from those whose hands are up. From Seth Kwame Chum, please. And the next will be, after Seth, will be Charmaine. Please, if you follow in that order. Brief, straight to your point, and then we can get your panelists to answer. Thank you. Seth, if you're with us, please unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you very much, Nana. Nana, congratulations for your new leadership as well.
Thank you.
My name is Kwame Chum, please. Literally, I'm into agriculture, commercial farming. I have most of my lands are in the northern section of Ghana. I have almost about 20,000 species of shea butter tree in one section of my lands in Ghana. Due to that, I did explore on shea butter production. So I have a shea butter team that they do organic pure shea butter. But almost about 6 months, I've tried to get certificate from Food and Drug Board so that I can be able to ship my product or my stock of product from Ghana to United Kingdom. I'm facing difficulties. I think Honorable Bates, if there is a way you can assist Honorable Livestream Foundation to get the needed documentation or the certification so that I can ship my product from Ghana to United Kingdom. Because as I'm speaking, I have a lot of stocks in the northern zone, which I think I'm also supporting the system. When you were talking and you were talking about the zero agriculture, sometimes I feel sad about it because I've invested a lot. And if you go track my records, my first demonstration went to charity, second went to charity, and the production I'm doing about a share butter, still the government is not helping me.
All right.
The bureaucracy aspect in Ghana.
Thank you, Mr. Chums. I think the question is, can Mr. Battels or the mission or anybody in a responsible position assist with the bureaucracy around shipping something variable like that to the UK? I think I've got you right. And I'm sure Mr. Battels will put down that question and answer it accordingly. Can we have Charmaine, please? I'm just mindful that time is nearing up and we need to call on others to ask their question. Charmaine, please.
Hiya. So two things. Augustine touched on something that I was raising my hand for earlier, which was just about reclassifying locally produced Ghanaian fruits, vegetables, etc., or produce in general as aspirational in the same way that they do in the UK or elsewhere around the world. So putting the sustainable sticker on it or classifying it as organic are things that are easy to do because they are just using the produce that is already here. Obviously, if they fit the criteria. And then secondly, talking about manufacturing as you were earlier, I think there should be a huge emphasis on supply chains and owning the full spectrum of the supply chain. For example, in manufacturing, not having the costs associated to shipping the cotton that can be grown here in Ghana externally to be refined, only to ship it back. I mean, if there was a refinement facility here, then those two costs alone being saved would be able to drive down the cost of materials and then enable manufacturers on the ground to be able to build sustainable models where they're not so expensive. So I think when we're looking at those things, if we pay those in mind, and then also from an investment perspective, myself as an investor, kind of looking at the opportunities as scalable and making sure that all parties are enabling startups or SMEs to be able to build real growth models as opposed to just small and medium entities. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Charmaine. The last I want to add to the two earlier is, what is the government doing, or I mean, current or future or previous government doing about stigmatization of Ghanaian or African products? Years ago, when you buy shoe, we call it Asante shoe, where the Asante made, and therefore we have so much of these nice shoes sitting on the shelves, all in the name of stigma. Is this some sort of a campaign that you think we need to do, education that we need to do? Because it's all well and good promoting after. Our people's mind hasn't changed, and there isn't any public campaign about the way we look after our own products. If that continues, we have Kantanka cars sitting there, and people are buying from, what is it called? Japan and Toyota and all the other nice makes. When Katanka, they will tell you the way they will put it on the social media, as if when you start the engine, you are nearly going to blow up. What are we doing about this? If you may have an opinion. I know you don't represent government or policymakers, but at least your opinion. We are sharing ideas here. And I'm sure somebody will pick it from somewhere. Thank you. 3 questions for you to answer. Thank you, sis. Anybody can take one. And I adding.
Okay. Just a minute.
So we have a question from Charmaine and Mr. Chum.
Yes, let me then respond to Mr. Chum's thing first. I don't know why his product has kept that long. And I don't know how long and continuously he's been engaging GSA, sorry, Ghana Standards Authority, because I think that if he's already done exports, charity and things like that, that means that he subjected the same product to GSA for some kind of testing before he took it out. I don't know really what the reason is, but I think that if there has been a bit of quality detraction from his original that he sent, GSA should be able to tell him that we find XYZ, issues with it, or even if it's packaging, they need to really tell him that, look, your packaging, your labeling have issues. But for 6 months and no response, I think that there's a missing middle. He needs to contact GSA for that. However, having said all that, I will take it up personally to find out what really the issues are. And if, Nana, you can share my contact with him, and so that I'll get to them to find out, because I don't think that it should take that long.
I surely will.
Yes.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chum, please contact me as soon as we are done so we can share the information. I have it. The next one is about how do we stop stigmatizing our own products to the outside world? Then Charmaine has also a question, which I believe you would have noted it down.
Okay, so let me just add a bit to Mr. Chum's own, just general, not necessarily in response to Mr. Chum specifically, but as a practice. Usually it's easier when you work with industry associations, because one of the significance of industry association is advocacy. When you work under the umbrella of an industry association, they are able to get things done. Because if you work as an individual, sometimes it's very challenging to deal with the bureaucratic bottleneck. And also when it comes to export, standards, very important. So meeting the requisite standard requirements is a huge part of exporting. So you need to know what the standards are and how to meet those requirements. Now to the point that Charmaine made. Yes, I agree with you, Charmaine, completely. Labeling is key, and that goes with packaging. Packaging is important, not just for its aesthetic beauty, but also in terms of value proposition. I was so excited the other day when I went into a small shop, and then I saw chocolates, new brand. I mean, I think Ghana were doing very well in terms of chocolate. Now I see all sorts of brands apart from Golden Tree, and those ones are, they look much more beautiful and neatly packaged. And then this one had, oh, is that one? Okay, yes, so this is wonderful. Yes. So I saw another one, and then I saw that they had a carbon footprint statement on it. It says 0 CO2. And I thought, well, this is exciting, because now everybody's talking about, CO2 emissions. So looking at your carbon footprint, and this is a Ghanaian company, right? So if you take that kind of chocolate to the international markets, they will say, oh, this is a sustainable, product, right? It satisfies the requirements of the modern consumer. Modern consumers are very discerning. It's not about the price per se for them. It's about the value proposition of the product. So yes, absolutely. Now, that leads me to Nana's question about the stigmatization. There's only so much that the government can do. And this is why. The government has international obligations under the WTO agreements. And one of those is that you cannot discriminate against foreign products in your own country. And what that means is that as a government, you have to be very careful in the kind of policies that you enact in order to promote your own products. If the government comes out with a policy and say, you have to buy only Ghana-made, only rice produced in Ghana, very soon, the government of Ghana will have a complaint against them. So they can make soft statements and all that, but you can't have an active government policy which seeks to compel in a way or promote made in Ghana products to the extent that the foreign products suffer some form of disadvantage. So of course, our governments have always said Ghanaians should patronize Ghana-made products and all, but that's what they can do. What we should be doing is getting the private sector and trade associations to be more vocal, because they don't have these international obligations. So you can have a made in Ghana movement, have an association saying that we want to promote made in Ghana products, right? I remember, I think President Kufuor's time when we changed Valentine's Day to Chocolate Day. Now it's become customary, right? Valentine's Day, we share chocolate. We can have a trade association saying that we want to promote made in Ghana products. So you set aside some days in the year or in the month to say this is made in Ghana Day. That is perfectly fine. If you look at things like trade, fair trade and all those ones, these are not government policies. These are non-governmental policies made by non-governmental organizations. So yes, government can encourage people, but government cannot go too far, because if government goes too far, that will be, government may end up violating this international obligation. So we private sector, as individuals, we have an opportunity to take the lead in that. And thanks to social media, I think it's much easier these days to do that than before. And I think maybe my generation, we are proud to wear made in Ghana products. Yes. And you know, Ghanaians will like exclusivity. Okay. So once I wear a pair of shoes, which is wonderful, and it's made in Ghana and it's expensive, people who can afford also want to buy that shoe so they can say it's made in Ghana. That's the reason why every new restaurant in Ghana has lots of customers until a new one pops up.
Thank you. I think it's good. We need to also encourage our people who are producing made in Ghana to do it to perfection. I think it's key, because I bought one Ashanti shoe, and the moment I step in water, the glue just came out, and that's very important.
No, that was not there, because we have very good quality shoes. Maybe off the program here we can talk, because presidents, not only Ghanaian president, but other presidents in Africa,
they have come better, much better. Thank you. Yes. So all I'm saying is, let's encourage them to do it to the international standard, so that at least we can also feel proud. We have two people who want to talk, and that will be our last question to take. Gloria Day, if you can unmute yourself, please, if you can ask your question, Gloria.
Hi, I'm hoping you can hear me. My internet seems to be a little bit unstable, so forgive me if I cut out.
It's fine.
It's just in response to products. So one interesting idea might be more of a comment as opposed to a question, would be to try and ensure that we were increasing the number of exporting channels for businesses here. I think that it is obviously fantastic if Ghanaians are buying Ghanaian products, but it's even better if we start eating the market share on a global and international scale. And I think that then also follows suits in country. If we start to see that the popularity is picking up with a product that has been made from within our countries, then it might actually translate internally. So I think that perhaps there could be some legislation to support, and or some institutions or organizations that start to gear up towards focusing on that. I'm sorry, I'm the founder of 27 Management, and that's kind of what we do. We work with small businesses focusing on procurement, so finding channels of distribution internationally. We also focus on operational matters, trying to ensure that businesses that are set up here in Ghana are focused on the ESG principles. And then we also try to make sure that founder education, financial education, is also at its best, because a lot of the time people need and require capital, however, don't know what type of capital is suitable for their organization and business. And especially when we are not very clued up on what we have currently in country too. So it can be very difficult. And again, because of the vastness of the regions, it also makes it further challenging. And so that's one of the things. And I think there was a farmer who spoke earlier about the challenges he was going through. And one of the things that I would sort of say is and ask is if you find yourself in those scenarios, how are you trying to mitigate for those and/or get support for them? Because currently there is quite a number of incubators and accelerator programs which have been set up, and some are fantastic and some are less so fantastic. However, they can signpost you to the right places where you can get support, especially when you find yourself in financial difficulty. And so that's just on those 2 points. And there was a question earlier with regards to, I think it was a point that we're talking about borrowing from outside country. And I think that was an interesting point, but I suppose it's more of a comment and or critique is if we're borrowing from outside country, that means we're not reaping the benefits of the interests. And that means our financial institutions essentially render themselves, if you will, a little bit dormant and or sort of flat. So I just wondered whether or not that would actually not create a further financial challenge and actually push us out of the financial market because we're not reaping the benefits of those interests. And that's the challenge I have there. And if we as a market, which, we have fantastic agricultural products, are not able to finance the growth and or distribution of that through our homegrown banking institutions, then we kind of find ourselves at a huge disadvantage down the line. And also our currency, whilst it is terrible right now, it could find itself in a worse state. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope my panelists can please share light on what you just said so we can round up for the evening. Anyone with any thoughts on it, please?
I think that overall, as a country, we need to change our minds. We need a clear mindset shift on most of the issues. If I'm to take the Made in Ghana thing that she was talking about, and we need to indeed patronize what we produce. We can only keep the money within if we go for Made in Ghana stuff. It looks like our country, we have suddenly had a surge in the middle class, and the kind of tastes, the opulence that they have currently is making a lot of I don't know what I should say this, but the kind of thing that is driving inflation in Ghana, when you look at some of the figures, I mean, Brazilian hair, apples. I mean, these are things that we should not, be looking at when we have very good, tasty mangoes, oranges, and things like that. But we're looking to eating apples rather than going for these things. So I think that the first thing is that we need that mindset change and understand that what we have is equally good, if not better. And that's what I would say to that kind of discussion. And then also, yes, it will be like an out migration of FDI or something like that. But you see, currently the financial space that we have, most of it are foreign banks anyway. So whatever transaction that we go in for, in a way, has a component that will go outside. I'm just looking at the numbers, as Augustine said. I mean, the cost of borrowing in Ghana and the kind of requirements that you need to put in place. I think that for me, I find that extremely ridiculous. The numbers are ridiculous. And then the kind of requirements that you need to go, sometimes even the paperwork, it's so difficult to complete. So I think that we need to look at this issue a bit more deeper to understand whether that's the way to go, or we should persist in looking at local financial institutions. That's what I would say.
Okay, thank you. Just 2 quick points. So on Gloria's comment, the last comment about borrowing from outside. I mean, I think if you ask any businessman, this will be one of the few areas where they will have no qualms about abandoning their national identity. If they will get cheaper capital outside the country, they'll take it. Right? But Gloria is right. If we do that, then our financial institutions are likely to be in trouble some time to come. Now, this is where the AfCFTA comes in the services sector. As I said, one of the areas that is going to be liberalized is financial services, which means that our financial services sector or the market is going to be opened up. It's going to be much more easier for foreign financial institutions, other African financial institutions to do business in Ghana, right? The modalities have not yet been concluded, but that is the objective. So if that happens, maybe as business people would now have a much bigger pool of financiers to look up to for financing, and that would help us, because all those financial institutions would be part of the one single African market. So you no longer have Ghana versus South Africa and all that. So if you take facilities from South African company to consider as financing within the continent. Then the last point about scaling up, I think scaling up is crucial, and that's the point that Jermaine made earlier. If you want to benefit from things like agriculture, the way you do is to scale up. If you don't have production on large scale, you can't supply the people who can pay you good money, like the retail shops, right? If ShopRite wants to sign a contract with you, they're not going to sign a contract with you for you to give them 2 kilos of tomatoes every other week. No, that will not be sustainable for them. They need somebody who can meet their capacity. Yeah. So you need to have huge capacity. And that's why as small businesses, sometimes you have to come together. If you don't have the financing on your own to meet the demand, you will need to band together and then scale up. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. The panelists have delivered, questions have been asked. We've all understand, we've taken the answers to the best of our understanding, and hopefully we'll make use of it. On behalf of the Ghanaian Community Awareness Forum, I want to thank both of you. Mr. Augustine, thank you. 2 hours of your precious time advising a Nigerian or any other African nation on AfCFTA would have earned you a lot of money, and you've done so freely for us in diaspora. Thank you very much. Mr. Okobatel, thank you. I know you're a High Commission rep, but you're not working within time because it's out of hours. You could have easily stayed out and say, I want to have an evening. Thank you. We are grateful for your support and everything. We want to thank all our audience for being with us. Next 2 weeks, as I said, we are talking about IMF, implications to Ghana and the Ghanaians that we are here supporting every day. Can we share ideas? Can we meet to discuss? Can we meet to talk about it? It's all part of our education and information and awareness program. We want to thank Ghana Nurses Association for being partner in this program, the Ghana Union, and of course, the Nightingale Ghanaian Association and Western Region Association of Ghanaians, UK. We also want to thank High Commission for endorsing this and Omega Live for carrying it live. Today's program will be available to you on social media, Facebook, YouTube, and of course, Zoom. Those of you who want to go back, you can log on and check all our videos are there. If you want to contact me, just send an email through one of those channels and you'll get hold of me. You will find me. I'm sure somebody will know you that will find me. Can I give a shout out to my favorite chairperson here? Martha, it's nice to see you from Ghana Nurses, and all those bodies that have joined us, Ghanaian community groups that have joined us, individuals. We will see you again in 2 weeks' time where we can engage on another important topic about Ghana and our people here. Until then, have a restful weekend, stay well, and be safe. Good night. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Calipos, the only boss with one S. Happy new month to all of you. Welcome to a month of new possibilities. Do you know why life has been made so easy? It's because of tap send. People, TapTapSend is here to make your life easy if you want to transfer money to Ghana. If you want to transfer from USA, if you want to transfer from UK, Europe, Canada, a lot of places all to Ghana. And guess what? When it comes to Ghana, there's no e-levy charge. So, what are you waiting for? Download TapTapSend on Google Play Store and App Store and be ready for exciting offers coming your way each time, every time on TapTapSend.
TapTapSend. Send more, spend less.
Araba, there are some people at the door. Go and tell them I have traveled to Russia.
Yes, Daddy.
Where's your father?
My father said I should tell you he has traveled to Russia.
Your father has killed me. I sent him money from America to complete my house for me.
Are all student association contributions?
Even the money from the fundraiser for Kweku's surgery.
Oh! Too? Don't be a victim. If you're contributing to a project, alumni dues, or any public campaign, Chango is your best choice. Chango keeps track of all donations and gives you the power to know exactly where the money goes. Chango is approved by Bank of Ghana. Call 0270-066-614 or visit changoapp.com for more information.
Uncle, my father is hiding under the bed.
Oh, Araba.
Chango for your groupings and crowdfunding.
At Diaspora Insurance, we understand the importance of dignified send-offs within Ghanaian culture and traditions. We also understand that you want to avoid the double trauma of your family grieving and not having the financial support to cover funeral expenses when you're not around. With our Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan, you can now cover yourself or your family in Ghana or abroad. With no medicals required, we'll accept you if you are under 75 years. Visit our website today or call us to complete a simple form in under 5 minutes. With Diaspora Insurance, your peace of mind is guaranteed.